So as a fresh automation engineer, I used to sell AI automation, custom workflows, make integrations, whatever clients wanted. But I realized no matter how hard I worked, it wasn't correlated to the money I was making. I was stuck at like 1 to 2K a month working like 60 hours a week. Then I switched to selling one thing, sales systems using what I like to call the connector framework. Now I make 180 grand a month working only 4 hours a day. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk you through the exact shift I made, why I made it, why it worked, that took me from broke generalist to 180K a month specialist. So if you're stuck selling AI automation right now and want to play at a higher level and also make real money without hating your life, this video is for you. All right, let's go back down memory lane so you understand where this came from. So I was working as a nightclub bouncer, basically punching people in the face for a living, Monday to Friday. And that was like a period of my life where I knew something had to change. So I needed transformation. You know, the hero's journey, leave your town, go into the world, come back with like gold in your pockets as a completely different person. Well, that was me. So I made the decision to learn how to code. Terrible decision, by the way. A few months in, I realized I hated it. I'm not an academic theory guy. I'm a sales guy. So I wanted to learn how to print money, not debug code. Then I came across Zapier and Make.com. This was way before GPT, maybe even like before GPT 3.5. And I went down the rabbit hole of learning automation. Here's the thing. Most of it was just like theoretical bullshit. I didn't want to learn frameworks. I wanted to make money. So I hopped on Upwork and I started selling everything. And maybe this is you right now. You're like freelancing or thinking about it. Again, terrible idea, by the way. I'll save you the time and energy and hair loss in just a second. But I started landing gigs, $50 in here, $100 in there, nothing really sustainable. I was like working my ass off every single day. And when I looked at like the past 30 days, I'd made peanuts. Then I noticed something interesting. 99% of my gigs were the same thing. Sales systems, lead gen systems, the exact same thing I sell now for 8K plus. I used to sell for like $100 on Upwork. So I went for a long walk in the woods. In fact, I do this every single Sunday. No work, just like a 2-hour walk. And this is where most of my big ideas came from. The connector framework, the systems that actually got me to 180 grand a month. I highly recommend you guys go for walks, by the way. It's kind of like alchemy. You heat your body up, your unconscious mind starts working, and the answers that were already within you just surface. And that's when everything actually clicked. Getting banned was like the best thing that ever happened to me because it forced me to like stop being a generalist, competing on price, and actually start thinking like a specialist, which brings me to the first thing, which is specialize in fixing one problem. So here's what I realized on that walk. I was trying to be everything to everyone. AI automation, which means nothing. It's fraud. It's meaningless. A client would come to me and say, hey, I need help with automation. I'd say, sure, what do you want to automate? And we'd kind of like build whatever random thing they thought they needed. 1 week, I'm building a Slack integration. Next week, I'm like automating their invoicing. The week after that, I'm doing something completely different for someone else. And here's the problem with that. I never got good at anything. I never built like a reputation for solving one specific problem. And I could never charge premium because clients saw me as a pair of hands, not an expert. So I made a decision. And I remember I was like, before I got banned, like 99% of my gigs were sales systems, pipeline building systems, the stuff that actually makes companies money. And I said, that's it. That's all I'm selling now. Sales systems, nothing else. And to help you understand why I made that decision is I thought about using the McDonald's model. Think about McDonald's, right? They don't sell food. They sell burgers. That's what they're known for. That's what they got really, really, really good at. Do they sell other stuff? Yeah, fries, desserts, drinks, but those are upsells. Nobody goes to McDonald's for the apple pie. They go for the burger, right? Another thing, Coca-Cola. They made Coke. Obviously not the white one, but just Coke. They stuck to Coke. Now everybody loves Coke, right? So the same thing with my business, okay? I sell sales systems. That's my burger. That's what I'm known for. Do I sell AI integrations, automations, CRM setups? Yeah, I totally do. In fact, these are worth like thousands of dollars and a big chunk of my 180 grand revenue, but only after I've proven value with the sales system. Those are upsells. So the reason it worked is because When you specialize, three things happen. One, you get really good at solving that one problem. You see patterns, you iterate, and you build systems so you become the expert. The next thing is social proof compounds. Every client you work with within that niche becomes proof that you're the person for that problem. So you're not an automation guy, you're the salesman guy. The third thing, which is three, you can charge premium because you're not competing with every freelancer on Upwork who does automation. You're competing with nobody because you're the specialist. Now, what happens when you are a generalist? So the client says, how much for this automation? You're like, $500. The client is going to be like, I found someone on Upwork for $300. You're going to be like, okay, I'll do it for $300. Now, when you are a specialist, the client says, I need a sales system that generates me conversations with my ideal buyer. You're going to be like, yeah, sure. Here's a sales system that generates 12 intros per month for B2B companies. My process had generated over 2 million in pipeline for clients. The investment is $8K for a 6-month contract. The client says, when can we start? So you see the difference? Now, here's the thing most people miss. Specialization doesn't mean you only do just one thing forever. It means you lead with one thing. I lead with sales systems. That's the front door. You should lead with sales systems. That's your front door. But after I've delivered the sales system and proven it works, I can upsell them on AI integrations to actually qualify leads faster, CRM automations to manage the pipeline, all kinds of fun stuff. But those come after, not before. Just like McDonald's, they don't lead with, hey, you want like an apple pie. They lead with, hey, here's the burger. Then upsell you on like, I don't know, like McFlurry. And it's actually true when you order, the first thing they show you actually is like the burger. Then after that, they upsell you. Do you want this or that, right? But they don't lead with the milkshake. So that's the first thing. Specialize, okay? Pick one problem you solve, sell systems, get known for that, build all your social proof around that, charge premium for that, and everything else is just an upsell. But here's where it gets interesting because specialization alone isn't enough. You can be a specialist in the wrong thing and still say broke, which brings me to the second thing, and this is the one that actually made me 180 grand a month. All right, so let's say you've specialized. You're the sales systems guy now. You're not building just random automations anymore. But here's the problem most specialists still have. They're still sellers. And let me explain. They lead with, here's my process. I set this up on Apollo, scrape leads, I use AI, and clients hear that and think, okay, so you are a technical person. How much does technical work cost? Probably $500, $1,000. And they're going to be like, okay, I'll hire off Upwork or just go to like a generic service provider. So you're still a commodity, just a more specialized commodity. So here's what changed everything for me. Again, I went for a long walk and I was like, how does one become a market of one? How can I lower costs, increase profits, and have a better positioning that nobody in the AI and automation space actually has? So my unconscious mind and a voice spoke to me and said, be a connector, Saad. So I listened to it and I started positioning myself as the connector. So I started selling connections. And let me explain that, okay? So this is called the connector framework. And let me just explain what that means. So when you build a sales system, what's actually happening? You're not just setting up automation. You're connecting two parties who need each other and haven't found each other yet. So on one side, your clients, they have a solution, a service, a product, they need customers. On the other side, businesses out there who have the exact problem your client solves and they need that solution, but they don't know your client exists. So you're the bridge. You're connecting people to opportunities they couldn't reach on their own. Think about it like a real estate agent. They don't own houses or build them. They connect buyers with sellers and take a fee for making successful matches. Think about it like another example, like a Hollywood agent. They don't act, direct, or film anything themselves. They're not out there writing scripts or like producing movies. Their whole value is in connecting the right actor to the right role at the right time. So I started leading with my system generates introductions and conversations between you and your ideal clients. Businesses that have the problem you solve but don't know you exist. And I will make that introduction happen at scale. See the difference? One is about the system, one is about the outcome. One sounds like work, one sounds like opportunity. Now, let me just show you how this plays out in the conversations. The old way is selling the system. The client is going to be like, how much to build this? And you would say $3,000. The clients would be like, that seems expensive for like an automation. The new way is selling the connection. You say, I'll generate like 5 pre-vetted conversations per month with businesses that fit your ideal customer profile. If your average deal is 10K and you close even 10% of those conversations, that's 50K per month in new revenue. My fee is 5K for setup and 1K per month to maintain the connection flow. The client would be like, yeah, sure, when can we start? So same system, different positioning, completely different pricing. Now here's where this gets even better. Most people will sell these systems hands off. Here's your login, good luck. But I sell the outcome, and you should also sell the outcome. The intros themselves. Don't build it and just disappear. Be responsible for generating those conversations, for making those connections happen. And that's why I can charge more, and you can charge more. Because you're not just selling the tech, you're selling results, and results is all that matters. And to be clear, yes, you're still building a sales system. Yes, there's all the technical stuff, but you're not selling that or leading with that. You're selling the outcome, connections, intros, opportunities that make millions of dollars. The system is just the vehicle that delivers the outcome. And the client doesn't need to know how the vehicle works. They don't need to know how the sausage is being made. They just need to know if it gets them where they want to go. So think of yourself as the bridge. There are people on one side of the river who need to get to the other side, but there's no way across. So you build a bridge. Now you could sell the bridge. So you could sell construction services, talk about the materials, the engineering, the labor, or you could sell, I'll get you across the river safely. Which one is worth more? Like, just think about it. So that's the second thing, the connector positioning. You're selling connections. You're selling opportunity. You're selling the bridge between two parties who need each other. And that combined with specialization is why I can charge 8K minimum for like a 6-month contract and only work 4 hours a day. Because I'm not a generalist competing on price, and neither should you. All right, now let me give you the part that actually makes this whole thing work. And this is what most people completely miss. When I say I'm a connector, I mean it literally. I don't buy the infrastructure. I don't invest in the client's tech. I use my own. And let me explain why this changes everything. See, most people trying to sell this sort of stuff, the client wants a sales system. So you say, okay, let me set that up for you. You buy the infra for them, you set up everything on their behalf, you pay for subscriptions upfront, maybe they do it, but you build everything in their infrastructure. Then you charge 3K and think you're making money. But let me tell you something, you are leaving money on the table, okay? Because if you just do this just simple fix, it's gonna 10x your profits and you'll be making so much more money. What you don't want to do is, for example, get the client to pay $500 to $1,000 in setup costs and wait them to reimburse you or manage their technical issues. And if the client goes or doesn't pay, you're just stuck with those costs. So you're not a connector, you're just a contractor buying the materials for someone else's house. But what you want to do is, this is what I do, is I use my own infrastructure, my own tech, my own subscription, my own tools. So the client doesn't need to buy anything. They don't need to set anything up. They don't need to manage the technical shit. They just pay me for the outcome, the intros. Now, this changes everything, and I mean literally, because one, you control the entire operation. I'm not dependent on the client setting things up correctly. I'm not waiting for them to buy things and expect them to be tech savvy. I'm not dealing with, oh, I forgot to renew the subscription. I control the infrastructure, so I control the results. Two, there's premium positioning. Think about this. When you ask a client to buy stuff, you're making them do work. You're creating friction. You're positioning yourself as someone who needs their infrastructure to deliver. When you say, you don't need to do anything, I have the infrastructure, you just get the intros, you're the connector right now. Okay, so you're not asking them to buy stuff, you're delivering the complete service. Three, your costs are predictable. And let me explain. And also scalable, by the way. I'm not buying things for every client. I'm not setting up new accounts. I'm using the same infrastructure across multiple clients. Where it makes sense, obviously. So my costs are fixed. My margins are pure profit. Now you might be thinking, Saad, what does that create? Well, let me explain. It does create this self-feeding flywheel where every new client just increases profitability without increasing operational complexity. What does that mean? For example, client 1 pays 5K, client 10 pays 5K, but your costs didn't go up 10 times, they barely moved. And that's how you actually increase profitability. Think about it like a gym membership, okay? So the gym buys equipment once, but sells unlimited memberships. Each new member is pure profits because the infrastructure is already there. So that makes you avoid the painful conversation of you'll need to buy X, Y, and Z, and then I'll set up everything for you. The client is going to be like, this sounds complicated. Do I really need all that? How much is this going to cost me on top of your fee? So the new you is going to be like, you don't need to buy anything. Like, I'll use my own infrastructure, my own stuff, just invest in the outcome. The client is going to be like, that's easy. I'll just pay you and get the results. Simple. So when you use your own infrastructure, you're signaling something very critical. You're so confident in what you do that you're investing in the tools yourself. You're not asking the client to take on the risk. And that confidence justifies premium pricing, which creates what Charlie Munger, who is my greatest mentor, he calls it the Lollapalooza effect. Multiple forces working together in the same direction. And that's why this model just works so damn well. Now, what this means practically, Saad, when a client asks you, what do I need to set up? You say nothing. I handle all the infrastructure. You just need to be ready to take the intro calls I generate. The client doesn't know the technical details. They don't need to. They just know that they need to pay you and they're happy and you're happy and everyone's happy. Simple. So you're not a contractor, okay? Because a contractor is going to be like, buy me the materials and I'll build something for you. The connector is going to be like, I have everything you need. Just pay for the outcome. One is asking for resources. One is delivering the results. And guess who can charge more? So that's the third thing. And this is the real truth. A connector doesn't ask clients to buy infrastructure. They use their own. Not because you're trying to upsell them on tools, not because you're trying to create dependencies, but because it positions you as the person who delivers outcomes, not someone who needs the resources to do your job. And that positioning combined with specialization, like I said, and the connector language is what makes you charge 8K and scale to the moon. All right, so let's bring this all together. Number one, you specialize, you stop selling AI automation, start selling one thing that will let you get really good at it and build social proof and charge premium prices. Number two is change your positioning, okay? From selling systems to selling connection. I'm not an automation guy, okay? This is the new you. I'm the connector bringing businesses together with the opportunities they need. Number three is use your own infrastructure. Don't be buying stuff. Use your own stuff, which means pure margins, complete control, and premium positioning and pricing. These three things work together. They compound. Specialization makes you credible. Connector positioning makes you valuable. And using your own infrastructure makes you scalable. Together creates this magical potion that when you drink it, you ascend, then you go from like the poor AI generalist to a 180K a month sales system specialist. Now, don't watch this video and think, yeah, that makes sense. And then go back to selling AI automation generic to anyone who'll pay you like $500. You'll stay a generalist because it feels safer. So you'll keep asking clients to buy infrastructure because you don't want to invest in your own. You'll keep positioning yourself as a technician instead of a connector. And you will stay stuck at 2K. Okay, wondering why nothing seems to be working. But if you actually make these three shifts, if you specialize, if you position yourself as a connector, if you use your own infrastructure, I can assure you it'll be just fine. And it's not complicated. It's just different from what everyone else is doing. And that's exactly why it works. But it only works if you actually do it. That's it. Three things. Now you know, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.